Hello everybody, I'm glad you're here today. Today is September 2nd, 2025. In this video, we are covering again what France came out telling its medical system to get ready for a mass casualty wartime event. And we're going to compare it to what we got in our own intelligence from a listener right here on this channel that gave me some incredibly reliable information. So we're going to look at those two pieces of information and compare them. Get ready to just be kind of blown away. So we're going to do that. I'm going to show you one other thing that was in my gift bag from a very friend, a dear friend that is a prepper, and then we're going to read out of the Bible. I have been in my parents' garage this morning. That's why I look like something the dog drug in. I mean, we have been digging out, going through all kinds of things, throwing away because they're moving. So it's like 35 years of stuff in there. So I'm hot and sweaty, and I didn't even look in the mirror before I got on here. I just knew I had to make this video before the afternoon got away from me. So here we go. Let's get to it. Now then, this is, let's see, I'm not sure which I should read first. I think I'll go ahead and read what I got last year, June 1st, from 2024, from a listener. And this is what they said. The last week, I have been at an emergency management conference in Texas. One of the speakers at the session spoke on getting the civilian medical system across the United States to be ready for accepting casualties from large-scale combat operations with near-peer nations, Russia and China. He advised that the military system would be quickly overwhelmed with casualties from such a conflict. Minimally speaking, he said the U.S. hospital system must be ready to accept 1,000 casualties being flown into the United States per day for a minimum of 100 days straight. Minimum. At least 250 out of the 1,000 a day would require ICU level critical care. These wounded would have to be farmed out to hospitals across the nation for care. The problem is that the United States hospital system would be quickly overwhelmed as well because most hospitals face full capacity and are still suffering staff issues from the pandemic. Not only that, but there are many in the medical field that are in the National Guard and reserves that might not be in those hospitals during war due to being called up. He suggested that it might be advantageous to be looking at nursing homes and other types of facilities in communities that war casualties could be put into, not to mention what would happen if we got struck in the United States and even more casualties from the civilian population. It would be horrific with shortages in medical care facilities, medicines, etc. The speaker is a prior military medical background, now working medical emergency management for the state and federal system. Overall, okay, so that's it. That's what you need to take home. That's note that. Now then, reading what France announced on July 18th. France hospital readiness. A leaked healthcare ministry memo urges regional hospitals to prepare for possible mass casualty surges by March 2026, including staging hubs near ports, airports, and extra trauma PTSD training. What the letter asks for: hubs, training, and manpower. According to the document dated July 18th, 2025, July 18th. This was June 1st, 2024. This is July 18th, 2025, a little over a year later. Hospitals are told. This was, hey, this is a training thing. Y'all need to have this on your radar. This is, hospitals are being told this. Hospitals in France are being told to be ready to receive large numbers of wounded troops, French and Allied. at short notice and to do so for weeks or even months. To speed the flow, the ministry proposes setting up medical staging centers near ports and airports so patients can be stabilized and moved on to their home nations quickly. Could they possibly going to be flying them back here? There's a clear training push too. Staff should be briefed on wartime, quote, wartime constraints. Think scarce supplies, sudden surges in demand and disrupted logistics, and refreshed on trauma care, including post-traumatic stress and rehabilitation, medicine for complex injuries. In parallel, medics from across the system are encouraged to join the military health service to strengthen frontline capacity. That in and of itself has all kind of wartime vocabulary. I just note that. Just note that. The planning assumptions are sobering. According to the guidance report, hospitals should be able to absorb between 10,000 and 50,000 wounded personnel over a 10 to 100-day window. This was more than 100 days. This is 180 days. Depending on how a crisis unfolds. That doesn't mean such numbers are expected. It means the system must be able to cope if they arrive. Translation for hospital managers. Free up beds at pace. Rehearse reception and triage. Know which wards can flip to trauma, and map out evacuation pathways from the bedside to the aircraft ramp. Did you hear that? And map out evacuation pathways from the bedside to the aircraft ramp. The letter even touches on the human side of a long haul, staffing rotations that can survive months of pressure and psychological support for teams living on adrenaline. So that's what the memo said. When asked about it, the Minister of Health, Catherine Vautrin, didn't deny the correspondence. Her line was calm. Hospitals are always preparing for epidemics, for surges. It's normal for a country to anticipate crisis and their consequences. In other words, this is a contingency planning, not a prediction of war. Bullshit. I'm pushing the bullshit button on that. If you have children in the room, I'm sorry. Tell them what this means. Because some things in the in the world are just like, this is talking about war. That's my opinion. And it can be wrong. I'll say it is just an opinion. But even so, the timing and plain language of the memo fit a broader European push to build resilience against crisis in general. Across the bloc, governments are refreshing contingency plans for everything from cyber incidents to blackouts and extreme weather, and the European Commission has urged households to assemble basic emergency kits, water, batteries, medicines, and key documents to ride out short-term disruptions. For France, the message to its health service remains simple and stark. Be ready to act as the back office of a high-intensity conflict, and be ready soon. So, because we have family and friends in healthcare, when I read that to them, they're like, that's not normal. That's not a normal training. That's not something that you just put on the, hey, y'all, this Friday we're going to spend from, 8 to 10 going over our CPR skills. It's not like that. This is the verbiage. All of it's quite different. Now, when you compare what we heard last year, same verbiage, same scenario. And then, y'all, I even printed out the C-130s turned Bono Highway into a runway. You remember that? That was on August 4th, the first part of August, so a year ago. Also, so this was and I called the city on this one. I was like, let me see if this is real. I called the city of Bono, y'all. I didn't tell them I had a YouTube channel, but I called them just the same, and I was like, did this really happen? And let me tell you, I talked to a very high official in that town and learned that we had connections and we knew the same people from the same place. Y'all, a lot of people from Arkansas came to Texas at one point in time. Tennessee, like my people come from Tennessee and Arkansas, Alabama. Then we came to Texas back in the day. So it's like talking to family. I'm not going to lie. It's like this man was like talking to family, and he was a believer in Jesus Christ. So I'll tell you something. He was very forthcoming, and he had opinion about stuff. And he and his wife went out before church at 3 in the morning on that Sunday morning. And he said it was as if overnight that part of the highway had turned into a military headquarters. And then when they were done, boom, it was gone. It was so efficient. It was incredible. And when he and his wife were driving out there to watch the planes take off and come in, he said to her, what are they getting ready for? Oh, it's just an exercise. BS. That's not what it is. This is not normal, gang. This is something we haven't seen all our lives. Oh, you just haven't heard about it. No, I don't buy that at all. There's a lot I don't know in the world. Okay, so I mean, I can't be absolute on that. I can be nearly absolute. I can be 99.99999% sure that this kind of stuff has not gone on in my lifetime. That not unless it was at other wars. And you know what this makes me think of? This kind of scenario, this kind of mass casualty event. And I was reading it to my daughter last night, who's an RN. She said, Mama, that sounds like MASH, the series, the TV show. I said, it sure as heck does. She said, I'll be called up, Mama, because I'm single. I got nobody. I'm young. I'm an RN. I said, don't borrow trouble. When the pandemic hit, she volunteered to be on the COVID floor before it even came here. Before we had the first wave, they were asking for nurses to volunteer to serve on the that. So at that time, that's what we were watching in New York. We were watching people and refrigerator trucks being filled with corpses, and we were watching Italy just being slammed, and Europe being slammed, and China and all of these other countries just shutting down and being just sick people everywhere. So we in the center of the country, the Texas Panhandle, the hospitals were getting ready, and they asked for volunteers, and she volunteered and said, I'll do it. So she went into the training. They changed the wards, the halls, into this is a COVID hall. It was used to be a pediatric hall. That's what this is talking about. That healthcare, that managers of hospitals need to be sharp. Okay, so we need to be able to adjust to surges and logistical disruptions, supply disruptions. And let me tell you, they had supply disruptions during the pandemic. They had no PPR where my daughter worked. On the COVID floor, they had to rewear their PPR, their protection clothing, the yellow gowns and stuff and gloves, that they had to rewear stuff instead of throwing it away. Y'all, I think people, and try not to get on my soapbox here. People who go, oh, the pandemic was a big scam. Shut the F up. Maybe it was in your world. It was not in mine. And those of you below can comment. No, it was something. I'm not sure what all it was, and I'm not sure what all happened at the higher levels, but it was real. People were coding and dying every day. And those young doctors and nurses were, if you do a code, if you do CPR on someone, it's exhausting to do it once during the day. Try doing it 3 to 5 times on people who are coding up and down the hospital hallway, not breathing, dying. And when they would roll those patients into the ICU unit to get on a ventilator, this 25-year-old girl, my daughter, would say, you better call your family, because a lot of people don't come out of ICU once they've been on the vent. Get your business in order. And they would call on the way into the unit and say goodbye. That's real. That happened. And if you want to bury your head in the sand, go right ahead. I've had times where I've been sick of getting ready too, y'all. And I've had to take a step back and breathe and we cannot take away the power of God taking care of us. He will take care of us, one way or the other. So we don't want to rob him of that power and take things upon ourselves trying to get ready. But at the same time, what is he telling you? What is he saying to you? All of you share things with me in the comment section. You've shared dreams. You've emailed me things that you've seen in your neighborhood in the real life, and you have shared emails with me like this friend did about what they observed. What are you seeing? If we do not talk to each other about these things and maybe connect these dots, maybe these are dots that need to be connected, then who is? That's why we have to talk to each other. We have to communicate. So tell me what's going on in the comment section. Tell me what is your sense? What do you think? What do you hear? Are you in the military? Are you able to share any information? Are your children? Don't share something that's classified, obviously, but I don't know. I'm not worried about a war coming. I think it's here. I've already accepted that mentally. It's here. Is it going to come onto our homeland? My opinion is, yeah, it is. That I may be wrong. Many of you are saying, oh, don't worry, because in September there's going to be oh gosh, I'm sorry. I've just had a brain freeze. There's going to be the where Jesus comes and takes you home. Okay. Oh gosh, y'all. I cannot believe I cannot remember that word. Anyway. So to me, many of you have asked, is that what I'm hearing from God? Is that what I think? Is that, the Feast of Trumpets? I will tell you again and again and again, I do not emphasize times. Rapture. There we go. The rapture. Sorry. I know your brains do that too, so I know I'm in good company, right? So many of you are asking, is that going to happen this month? I don't know. I don't care. I really, really don't care. If you care, that's fine. I'm not down on anybody else caring. I don't. I'm just ready for Jesus. When he comes, however he comes, whenever he comes, however it goes down, I'm on his side. Bingo. That's it. So I don't spend a lot of time calculating, nor do I listen to people too much who are calculating. I usually click off when they start calculating because I don't care. And I find it, for me, it's distracting. I have heard too many stories, and maybe this one's it. Maybe maybe what's coming is one of those, and maybe it's not. I don't know. But I've heard too many stories where people were like, man, we were really sure that was going to happen in 2023 and it didn't. Well, I would encourage you to quit concentrating so much on when he's coming back and start telling people how much he loves them and to follow him. We're one day closer. I do know that. I believe that. I do believe he's coming back to get us 100%. I believe that with every fiber of my being. I know he's coming back. Jesus is. I have faith in that. When that's happening, I don't know. I'm not going to spend my time that way. I'm going to spend my time getting on here and serving my church and saying, Jesus is coming. Be ready. Believe in him as the Son of God while you still can, while there is time. And maybe a big event like this, a wartime scenario, will shake people up enough to where they go, I need something that doesn't shift beneath my feet. And y'all, that is Jesus Christ. That foundation is Jesus, the Son of God, the Creator God. And we live with God within us, Holy Spirit God. The mind of Christ is within us. 1 Corinthians 2. So that's my emphasis. And listen to me ranting today. Man, I didn't expect to do y'all, I gotta go mow the lawn because it rained an inch and a half. So I gotta go mow the lawn. I gotta make supper. I shut the garage, man. It got hot in there. I said, Mother, Daddy, I'm leaving. We're done with the garage. So, well, we're not done with it, but today we're done with it. And I'm probably gonna take a shower because I'm covered up with dirt. But and I'm so sorry with how I look. I know it's Sunday. I look so great because I've been to church, but today I know I don't. But it doesn't matter. Hear what I'm saying, and I pray it glorifies God. If anything resonates with you, that is God speaking, not me. Hang on to that. Filter that through prayer and hang on to it, y'all. All right, man, that I'll tell you what, these two things, these last year and this year, when I heard that, I was just astounded. So if you've kind of backed off on your preps, you might just ask God what you should do next. That's what you need to do. Ask God what you should do next, and he'll tell you. So you don't need to worry. All right, I'm going to let y'all chew on that. Stay safe, America. From the pantry, this is Gina Lima Charlie. I'm out.